They say blood is thicker than water, but sometimes blood runs cold. I'm Ruth, born in 1942 in small-town Pennsylvania. Back in 2018 at 76, my own son looked me in the eye and said, "You eat like a dog and sleep all day." Today at 82, sitting in my beautiful Haven house, I'm finally sharing this because every woman deserves to know her worth. If you're listening, drop your location below, and hit that subscribe button for more stories of quiet strength. The morning it all changed started like any other. I was making breakfast in the kitchen of the house my husband Harold built with his own hands in 1967. The same kitchen where I'd cooked thousands of meals, packed countless school lunches, and celebrated every birthday and holiday for over 50 years. My son David was sitting at the table with his wife Jennifer, both of them whispering in that way that makes your stomach clench. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and the conversation stops? That's how I've been living for 3 years, ever since Harold passed and they moved in to help me. "Mom, we need to talk," David said, not looking up from his coffee. Jennifer sat there with her arms crossed, that expression she always wore when she was about to deliver what she called tough love. I dried my hands on the dish towel, the same one Harold had given me for Christmas 20 years ago with little chickens embroidered on it, and sat down across from them. "We've been thinking," Jennifer started, her voice taking on that patronizing tone I'd grown to dread. "This house is too much for you. You don't contribute anything. You eat our food, use our electricity, and all you do is sit in that chair and watch TV." She gestured toward Harold's old recliner, the one I'd been sleeping in most nights because the bedroom felt too empty without him. David nodded along like a bobblehead. "She's right, Mom. You eat but don't help. You're like, well, you eat like a dog and sleep all day. Maybe it's time we looked at some care facilities." The words hit me like a physical blow. A dog. My own son compared me to a dog. I sat there, feeling something crack inside my chest. Not my heart breaking, but something deeper. My silence. For 3 years, I'd bitten my tongue while they criticized everything from how I loaded the dishwasher to how I folded laundry. I'd watched Jennifer rearrange my spice cabinet and throw away Harold's shirts without asking. I'd listened to David complain about the cost of my medications while he drove off in the new truck I'd helped him buy. But they didn't know about the leather-bound notebook I kept hidden in Harold's old desk. They didn't know that for 43 years, I'd recorded every penny I'd given them, every loan that was never repaid, every emergency I'd helped them through. Harold always said, "Ruthie, you keep good records. You never know when you might need them." He was a smart man, my Harold. That afternoon, while they were out celebrating what they thought was their victory, I retrieved my notebook. The brown leather was worn smooth from decades of handling, filled with my careful handwriting in blue ink. Page after page of entries. March 15, 1985, David's car repair, $847. June 3, 1992, down payment for David's first house, $12,000. September 18, 2001, Jennifer's student loans, $8,500. December 2008, bailed them out during recession, $23,000. I flipped through year after year of my silent generosity. Wedding costs, baby expenses, vacation loans, credit card payments, medical bills. A river of money flowing from my hands to theirs, documented in my precise script. The total, when I finally added it up that evening, made my hands shake. $127,000 over the decades. Not counting the countless meals, babysitting, cleaning, and emotional support that had no price tag. They thought I just sat in Harold's chair doing nothing. They didn't see me getting up at 5 every morning to start the coffee and plan meals. They didn't notice that their laundry appeared clean and folded, that bills got paid on time, that the house stayed warm and welcoming. I was invisible in my own home, a ghost haunting the life I'd built. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I wouldn't argue or defend myself. I wouldn't wave my notebook in their faces or demand acknowledgement. Instead, I would do what I'd always done best. I would act quietly with dignity, and let my actions speak louder than any words ever could. The next morning I packed a single suitcase with my most treasured possessions. Harold's wedding ring, our anniversary photos, and that leather notebook. I called Sunset Manor, the nicest care facility in town, and arranged for a room. When David and Jennifer returned from work that evening, they found me sitting in Harold's chair with my suitcase beside me. "I've found a place," I said simply. "I'll be moving to Sunset Manor tomorrow." Jennifer actually looked relieved. David had the decency to appear uncomfortable, but he didn't protest. "Are you sure, Mom? I mean, if this is about what we said yesterday." "It's not about yesterday," I replied, standing up and smoothing my dress. "It's about today and tomorrow, and having the dignity to know when it's time to make a change." The first few weeks at Sunset Manor were exactly what I expected: bland food, scheduled activities, and the kind of institutional kindness that feels hollow. But I wasn't there to settle into comfortable defeat. I was there to plan. Every morning, I sat in the common room with my leather notebook, adding new entries. Not financial records this time, but something more powerful: the blueprint for my quiet revolution. 3 weeks into my stay, I received an unexpected visitor. James Morrison, Harold's old friend and business partner, stood in the doorway of my room with a manila envelope tucked under his arm. James had been Harold's lawyer for 30 years, and I hadn't seen him since the funeral. His weathered face broke into a gentle smile as he stepped inside. "Ruth, I've been meaning to visit sooner," he said, settling into the chair beside my bed. Harold would have my hide if he knew I waited this long. He placed the envelope on my bedside table with the reverence of someone handling something precious. "I have something that belongs to you. Something Harold made sure would be yours when the time was right." Inside that envelope was a deed. The deed to our house, dated April 15, 1994, with my name as the sole owner. Harold had quietly transferred everything to me years before his death, a fact he'd kept secret even from me. James explained that Harold had been worried about inheritance taxes and wanted to ensure I'd never be vulnerable. He said you were the strongest woman he knew, but that you were too kind for your own good sometimes. He wanted to make sure you'd always have options. Options. That word echoed in my mind as James left that afternoon. I had options, and David and Jennifer had no idea. They were living in my house, eating food bought with my money, making decisions about my life, all while believing they held the cards. The irony was so perfect it almost made me laugh. That evening I called a real estate agent. Not to move back, I was done with that chapter, but to understand exactly what my options were worth. The house Harold built, the one David assumed he'd inherit, was worth $340,000 in the current market. Combined with my savings and Harold's life insurance, I had the resources to do something meaningful. But first I had one more call to make. I dialed David's number, my fingers steady on the rotary phone in my room. When he answered, his voice carried that familiar impatience. "Mom? Is everything okay? It's kind of late." "I'm fine, David. I wanted to let you know that someone will be coming to look at the house tomorrow. A real estate appraiser." Silence stretched across the line. Then, "What do you mean, an appraiser?" "Mom, you can't sell the house. That's our home now. We've invested so much in improvements." "Your improvements?" I said quietly. "To my house. The house your father made sure I would own outright." I could hear Jennifer's voice in the background, sharp and demanding explanations. "The appraiser will be there at 10. Please make sure the house is presentable." "Mom, wait." But I had already hung up. The next few months became a masterclass in quiet determination. I sold the house for full asking price to a young couple who reminded me of Harold and myself when we were starting out. David called 17 times the first week, his voice progressing from confusion to anger to desperate pleading. Jennifer left voicemails that started with accusations and ended with crocodile tears. I listened to each one once, then deleted them. With the proceeds from the sale and my savings, I purchased a beautiful Victorian house on Maple Street, the same street where I'd grown up. But this wasn't going to be my private retreat. This was going to be Haven House, a home for women like me who had been dismissed, devalued, and discarded by families who forgot their worth. I worked with architects and contractors, transforming the space into something magical. 6 private suites, each with its own bathroom and sitting area. A communal kitchen where women could cook together if they chose, or have meals prepared if they preferred. A library filled with books by women authors, comfortable chairs positioned to catch the morning light. Gardens where we could grow flowers and vegetables, proving that we could still nurture life and beauty. The first resident was Margaret, 78, whose daughter had tried to have her declared incompetent to steal her savings. The second was Dorothy, 81, who'd been living in her car after her son sold her house to pay his gambling debts. By Christmas, all 6 suites were filled with women who had been told they were burdens, who had been convinced they had no value, who had forgotten they had voices. We didn't just survive at Haven House, we thrived. Margaret taught watercolor painting. Dorothy, who had been a seamstress, showed us how to mend not just clothes but the torn places in our hearts. I kept the books and managed our small foundation, using the skills Harold had taught me about business and finance. 6 months after Haven House opened, David came to visit. I watched from the front window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes, gathering courage. When he finally knocked, I opened the door myself. No staff, no intermediaries, just me in my favorite blue dress, holding my head high. "Hello, David." He looked older, smaller somehow. The swagger that had carried him through our last conversation was gone. "Mom, can we talk?" I led him to the sunroom, where afternoon light filtered through lace curtains I'd sewn myself. We sat across from each other in chairs I'd chosen for their comfort, not their intimidation factor. He started to speak several times, then stopped, searching for words that seemed to elude him. "I'm sorry," he finally whispered. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't know about the house. I didn't know about any of it. Jennifer and we've been struggling financially, and I guess I thought." He trailed off, perhaps realizing how hollow his excuses sounded. I reached into my purse and pulled out a photograph. Haven House on opening day, with all 6 residents standing on the front porch, smiling like we'd discovered the secret to happiness. I placed it on the table between us. "This is what your father's house became, David. This is what my silence and your dismissal created. 6 women who matter, who have value, who are living proof that being old doesn't mean being worthless." He picked up the photograph with trembling hands, studying the faces of women who had found their dignity again. "It's beautiful, Mom. It's really beautiful." "Yes, it is. And you can visit anytime you'd like. But understand this, I'm not the same woman who sat quietly while you told me I ate like a dog. I found my voice and I'm not giving it back." Sometimes our greatest strength emerges from our deepest wounds, teaching us that worthiness blooms eternal when we nurture our own gardens with gentle, fierce determination.